He always said he couldn't stand lying. Then I found a printed photo of her in his desk drawer, dated 2 days before our anniversary. I left it next to our wedding photo. I met Brian in 2010 at a charity event in Austin, Texas. He was charming, funny, and had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. We dated for 2 years before he proposed, and by 2013, we were married. Our life was, by all accounts, perfect. Brian worked as a software engineer, and I was a high school English teacher. We bought a modest home in the suburbs, adopted a golden retriever named Max, and spent our weekends gardening and hosting barbecues. Brian had one rule: no lying. He'd say, "I can handle anything, just don't lie to me." I took that to heart. I believed in honesty and trust. I thought he did too. It was a Thursday afternoon when I found the photo. I was looking for a pen in his home office when I opened the bottom drawer of his desk. There, among old receipts and miscellaneous papers, was a printed photo. It was of Brian and a woman I didn't recognize, laughing, arms around each other, in what looked like a cozy cafe. The timestamp read June 10th, 2023, 2 days before our 10th anniversary. My heart plummeted. I felt nauseous. I sat there, staring at the photo, trying to process what I was seeing. This wasn't just a friendly picture. There was intimacy, familiarity. He was cheating. I didn't confront him immediately. Instead, I placed the photo next to our wedding picture on his desk and left the room. I needed time to think, to plan. I couldn't let it go. I needed to know who she was, how long this had been going on. I started by checking his phone, but he had changed his passcode. That was new. So I turned to his laptop. He rarely logged out, and luckily, he hadn't this time. I searched his emails, his social media, his calendar. That's when I found her. Her name was Rachel, and they had been emailing and messaging for over a year. They met at a tech conference in San Francisco. She lived in Seattle, but they coordinated business trips to see each other. Felt betrayed, angry, but also determined. I wasn't going to let him get away with this. I needed a plan. I consulted a lawyer, gathered evidence, and prepared for divorce. But I wanted more. I wanted him to feel the humiliation, the betrayal. So I devised a plan. I organized a surprise anniversary party, inviting our friends, family, and his colleagues. I told them it was a celebration of our love, a decade together. Everyone was excited. On the day of the party, I hired a photographer and set up a slideshow of our memories. But I added a twist. Interspersed between the photos of our wedding, vacations, and holidays, I included the photo of him and Rachel, along with screenshots of their messages. As the slideshow played, the room grew silent. Gasps, whispers, and awkward glances filled the space. Brian looked confused, then horrified. He turned to me, mouth agape. I took the microphone and said, "Brian always said he couldn't stand lying." I thought it was time everyone saw the truth. I left the party, filed for divorce the next day, and never looked back. The fallout was swift. Brian's reputation at work suffered. Friends and family distanced themselves. Rachel's husband found out and filed for divorce as well. I moved to a new city, started fresh, and found peace. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. I learned that sometimes the best revenge is simply living well. After the party, I expected silence. I wanted him to crawl back into whatever hole cheaters vanish into when they're caught. But Brian didn't go quietly. 2 days after I filed for divorce, he showed up at my school. It was lunch. I was sitting in my classroom with my salad, grading essays. I heard a knock. I looked up, and there he was, standing in the doorway like he belonged there. My heart started pounding, but not from nerves. From rage. "What are you doing here?" I kept my voice low. There were students just outside. He looked wrecked. Puffy eyes. Clothes wrinkled. Probably hadn't slept. "Please. Just 10 minutes. I told him 5. I shouldn't have. He started off slow, the whole "I made a mistake, I still love you, it meant nothing" speech. Then came the twist I didn't expect. "She's pregnant," he said. I didn't even react at first. It felt like the air got sucked out of the room. I remember staring at the poster behind his head, a quote from To Kill a Mockingbird. "You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view." That made me want to laugh. "Yours?" I asked. He hesitated. I packed up my lunch and told him to leave. The next day, Rachel messaged me. She found my number through mutual contacts. I almost blocked her, but something in me wanted to know what the hell she thought she was doing. Her message: "I'm sorry. I didn't know you were still together. He told me you were separated." I found the wedding photos after I got suspicious. I had no idea. "I'm keeping the baby." I didn't reply, but I dug deeper. I reached out to one of Brian's coworkers I had always liked, Marcus. He and his wife had been at the anniversary party. They knew what happened. Marcus told me the truth. Brian and Rachel weren't a mistake. It wasn't a fling. They had been seeing each other for over 2 years. He'd been traveling under the excuse of conferences, but they were vacations. Romantic ones. He'd used our joint account to buy her gifts. Expensive ones. I felt sick again. This man was a stranger. Worse than a stranger. A manipulator who looked me in the eye every day and asked how my day was. Slept in our bed. Walked our dog. Kissed me like nothing was wrong. I went full scorched earth. The lawyer was shocked by how much evidence I had. Emails, bank records, photos. I handed it over like ammo in a war. She told me the courts would lean heavily in my favor. And they did. But that wasn't the twist. That came a week later. I got a call from an unknown number. It was Rachel's husband. Soon-to-be ex. His name was Jason. He'd found out through the same party where I exposed Brian. One of my friends had posted a short clip on Instagram, and it somehow reached someone he knew. From there, it spread. Jason wanted to meet. I hesitated, but curiosity won. We met at a small diner downtown. He was calm. Too calm. He told me he and Rachel had been in therapy. That he had just started trusting her again after some previous issues. Then this. He asked if I'd be willing to testify that Brian had financially supported Rachel during the affair. Apparently, she had been siphoning money from their joint account too. I agreed. Gladly. But as we talked, something else came out. Rachel had reached out to Brian a year before they met in person. They had been connected on LinkedIn. She messaged him first. The affair had been planned. It wasn't some whirlwind mistake. She'd targeted him. And Brian, my loyal no-lies husband, welcomed it. Jason pulled out his phone and showed me screenshots of their first messages. "My husband's so boring sometimes. Let's keep this between us. We both deserve more." That was 2.5 years ago. I felt my stomach twist. All the anniversaries. The surprise trips. The sudden interest in couples therapy a year ago. It was all him covering his tracks. And now he had a child on the way. I didn't sleep much that night. My brain kept replaying everything. All the mornings he kissed me goodbye before catching a flight to her. All the times I asked if something was wrong and he said everything's fine. I started documenting, writing it all down. Not just for court, not just for the lawyers. For me, to remember. To hold on to reality. Brian tried contacting me again, texts, emails, even a voicemail where he cried and begged me to talk. Then came a message from one of his coworkers. Someone I barely knew. They warned me that Brian had been telling people I was mentally unstable and jealous. That was the last straw. I scheduled a meeting with HR at his company. I brought receipts, literal ones, showing the company-funded trips that were used for his little vacations with Rachel. I didn't know if they'd do anything, but I wasn't staying quiet. I was done being quiet. Then the phone rang again. Unknown number. It was Rachel. Again. She sounded desperate. "I need to talk to you. Please. It's about Brian." I didn't say no, but I didn't say yes yet either. I agreed to meet Rachel. Not because I wanted to hear what she had to say, but because part of me needed to see her face. I needed to look into the eyes of the woman who'd helped destroy a decade of my life. We met at a neutral place, an open-air cafe not far from downtown Austin. Public, visible, no room for theatrics. She looked tired. Pale. Her clothes hung loose on her like she dropped weight fast. When she sat down, she didn't touch her coffee. Just looked at me with that expression people get when they don't know where to start. I was stupid, she said. I waited. He told me you were cold. Controlling. That your marriage was dead. That you were just roommates. I didn't respond. Then she said something that caught me off guard. He said you hit him once. I blinked. He told me you slapped him during a fight last year, and that's when he knew it was over. I started laughing, loud enough that a couple at the next table looked over. I couldn't help it. That never happened. Never came close. And the fact that he made up a lie that serious, one that could ruin someone, showed me just how far he was willing to go. Rachel looked ashamed. Maybe genuinely. Then she dropped the bomb. He's been seeing someone else too. I didn't know until last week. Another woman. Another lie. This one? Her name was Lexi. She was 23. A bartender he met during a work event in Dallas. Rachel had found flirty texts between them. Plans to meet. Nicknames. Photos. Brian was playing both of us. He had a baby on the way and was still out chasing attention from strangers. Rachel's hands were shaking. She wasn't there to get sympathy from me. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She was unraveling. I could see it. And as much as I wanted to hate her, part of me felt sorry. She got conned too. She thought she was special. Turns out, she was just next. He's not going to stop, she whispered. He's not built for anything real. Then she pulled out something wrapped in tissue paper. Said she found it in his briefcase when he went to shower. It was a necklace. Not expensive, but clearly new. The tag was still in the box. To L. Lexi. She handed it to me. Told me to do whatever I wanted with it. She didn't care anymore. I took it. Not for revenge. For documentation. A week later, Brian's company launched an internal audit. I had no clue this was coming. Turns out HR took my report seriously. Between my documentation, the suspicious travel reports, and company credit card charges that didn't add up, they opened a full investigation. He was suspended pending review. Marcus texted me, he's freaking out. Said you're trying to ruin his life. I told him, he ruined mine first. That same day, I got an email from Lexi. Yep, Lexi. Subject line, I'm sorry. She'd found my contact through Rachel. She said she didn't know. That she wouldn't have gotten involved if she had. I wasn't surprised anymore. Just exhausted. But here's where it got worse. She said Brian told her he wasn't even sure the baby was his. Said Rachel was trying to trap him and was emotionally unstable. Lexi believed him. For a while. Until she saw the medical bills. The appointments. The photo of him and Rachel together at the baby shower. Yes, there had been a baby shower. That he attended. Lexi was done too. She blocked him and forwarded me screenshots of his texts. Some were disgusting. Manipulative. Angry. Others? Sweet. Loving. Like he was trying to mold himself into whatever the woman in front of him wanted. Same man. 3 women. Same lies. Different fonts. The legal side of things started picking up speed. My lawyer pushed for full financial disclosure. That's when we discovered something else. Brian had taken out a second credit card under his name without telling me 3 years ago. It had close to $15,000 in charges. Mostly hotels, flights, jewelry, restaurants in cities I'd never been to. I was stunned. Not because he had money, but because he was so reckless. Rachel was angry too. She said he promised to support her during the pregnancy. That he'd be a real father. Now he was trying to claim the baby wasn't his. She told me she was considering filing for full custody and refusing visitation. Not out of spite, but because she didn't trust him to protect the child from his lies. Jason, Rachel's ex, and I stayed in touch, mostly to exchange legal updates. But one night, he sent me a message I didn't expect. He's been messaging my sister. I couldn't believe it. Jason's younger sister was 28, a yoga instructor. Apparently, she met Brian once at a mutual friend's birthday before all this blew up. Now he was DMing her, complimenting her photos, asking if she wanted to grab coffee sometime. Jason sent screenshots. I sat there, just staring at them. It was like this man had no bottom, no shame. He was just broken. I didn't respond to Brian anymore. Didn't pick up his calls. Didn't read his messages. But I kept everything. Screenshots, emails, statements. I printed them all. Filed them neatly. I made backups. One digital. One in a fireproof lockbox. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about record keeping. About sanity. I told my lawyer I was ready for trial if needed. I wasn't settling. I wanted the truth on record, in court, under oath. The court date was set for late February. Leading up to it, Brian tried everything: mediation requests, calls through mutual friends, even a handwritten letter that showed up in my mailbox. It was 4 pages long, full of half apologies and twisted blame. He said I pushed him away, that I was too focused on work, that our marriage lost its spark and he just wanted to feel something again. I didn't reply. I just scanned it and sent it to my lawyer. The day we walked into court, he looked like a ghost of who he used to be. Pale, unshaven. His suit looked a size too big. He avoided eye contact. Rachel showed up too. Not for his case, but to file her own. She wanted a formal record of him denying the child, even though they had signed up for parenting classes together 6 months earlier. She brought proof. More texts. Emails. He had told her he was all in right before disappearing from her life. The judge wasn't impressed. I had kept my files clean, organized, documented. I laid it out like a story. Every lie, every fake trip, every dollar taken from our shared accounts to fund his 2-year double life. His lawyer tried to spin it, said I was angry and vindictive, that I was scorned. The judge asked if I fabricated the bank records too. His lawyer shut up. We got through the hearing. The judge ruled in my favor. I got the house. He had to pay spousal support for 3 years. He also had to pay half the legal fees. But that wasn't the end. 2 weeks later, I got a message from Lexi. She told me Brian had been arrested. Not because of me or Rachel or any of the women. He got caught stealing from his company. During the HR investigation I triggered, someone in accounting noticed patterns, things they never looked at before. Turns out, he'd been faking reimbursements, submitting the same receipts under different aliases. He got away with it for almost 2 years. Now the company had pressed charges. Lexi was the one who found out. She was still connected to someone who worked there. He was being charged with fraud. Grand larceny. Wire fraud. I stared at my phone for a long time. That night, I took the stack of evidence I had: the photos, the emails, the baby shower invite, the necklace Rachel gave me, and I set it all out on the kitchen table. I poured myself a glass of wine. I stared at it all one last time. Then I tossed it in a fire pit in the backyard and watched it burn. He tried to reach out from jail. An email. I didn't read it. I blocked the address. Months went by. Rachel had the baby, a girl. She named her June. Said it wasn't for the month of conception, but for the idea of fresh starts. I didn't ask for more. I just sent a small gift. Nothing flashy. Just a soft blanket and a note that said, "May she grow up stronger than the people who failed her." Jason moved. Changed jobs. I heard he's dating again. I'm happy for him. Me? I stayed put. Max, our golden retriever, stayed with me through it all. Every late night. Every morning I didn't want to get up. Dogs are like that. Loyal, even when people aren't. Last week, I got a letter. Certified. From Brian's lawyer. He wanted to settle his support payments early in exchange for dropping some claims he still hadn't let go of. I wrote one sentence back. I hope the view from rock bottom is clear now. I signed it. Sent it. And that was it. He always said he couldn't stand lying. That it was the one thing he couldn't forgive. Funny. In the end, lying was the only thing he ever gave without hesitation. And now? He's alone. In debt. Facing trial. 3 women left behind. 1 child who will grow up never knowing him. And me, scarred, sure. But free. Not perfect. But honest. And still standing.